What's up, everyone? In today's video, we're going to be going over some of the best setups in the market right now and the most important news you definitely want to know about. But looking at the heat map today, it was a good day. It was actually a sea of green. We saw a bunch of different stocks from basically every industry out there have a decent day, and that's awesome. But Tom, before we fully get into today's video, I go on a trip for a week and it's like the banking system's about to collapse. Like, what's going on here? Like, these bank stocks are getting smacked. I mean, I leave for a week and just like all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, exactly. I think you cursed the market, Mike, like whenever you left, because I don't know what happened. That was insane to see Silicon Valley Bank, or SIVB, do what it did while you were gone. I mean, to see that bank actually have a collapse is like it's otherworldly almost. Like, we haven't seen a bank that big collapse since 2008, and I just cannot even believe that stuff like this is even happening in the market right now. And it's obviously causing a lot of volatility across the whole entire market. But what was insane is that the S&P 500 actually popped up today, and a lot of these banks actually came back a little bit. Like, look at JP Morgan. That was a very nice recovery. Bank of America didn't recover up as much as JP Morgan did, but whenever we go to that heat map, we go to the financial sector. Today specifically, a lot of them were up into the green. So it was good to see stocks recovering. And I think that, it looks like that SIVB, or Silicon Valley Bank, collapsing might be a one-off situation. I'm not totally sure yet. We'll have to see over the next couple of weeks what happens. But it seems like right now sentiments are high and traders are buying the dip back up, at least at the moment.
You know it. So what's worth noting is we actually had some pretty important data come out today, and that was the inflation data. We all love inflation, right? Um, but anyways, looking at the CPI report that came out today, came in at around 6% year over year, which is, still too much for the long term, but it is good to see that the rate of inflation is definitely slowing down. Back in June of 2022, the inflation rate was around 9.1%, or that's at least what they reported. It was really a lot higher than that, but a lot of people were looking at the most recent inflation report, and some people weren't as confident that we were going to see, a drop to 6%. It wasn't anything crazy, but it came in right about expectations. So, the inflation report is very important, but it wasn't anything like that really surprised the market today.
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of one of the people that thought that it might bring the market down a little bit, because I thought maybe the core inflation rate would come out a little bit higher along with the overall inflation rate, but ended up coming in right at expectation. So, like you said, didn't really surprise anything. And I think that really helped the market get on the uptrend that we did at the beginning of the day. And there were just so many stocks on my watch list that were exploding up, whether it's Meta or AMD or Square or Citigroup. Like, those are the top four, but those stocks had quite the move back up. And there were plenty more. Even Tesla, Nvidia, even Microsoft had an amazing move today. So it was insane for the way the market turned around, in my opinion. And I think this caught a lot of people off guard. It might have actually trapped a lot of people who had puts as well, especially if you held throughout the day. That was pretty rough of a turnaround if you were into puts, especially with that bad banking sector stuff going on. I feel like a lot of people had their fears at peak highs, and even gold was popping up for a couple days there.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, when you look at the market, it's definitely not all sunshine and rainbows just yet. And as over the past year or so, there's been a lot of crazy and unpredictable things that have just been happening, right? And related to, I guess you could say, unpredictable events and kind of scary news, there was actually some news between like the US and Russia today. Tom, tell us more.
Yeah, this was actually very scary. I'll say I got a little bit of chills whenever this actually happened. So Russia downed a U.S. drone over the Black Sea earlier today. Now it looks like it's a Russia jet, the Su-27. They call it the Sukhoi 27. It's a pretty advanced fighter jet, kind of mimicking our F-22 Raptor. Actually was harassing our drone today, which was very interesting. An MQ-9 Reaper. And it looks like they ended up bumping it and caused it to crash by bumping the drone. So a very interesting situation by two huge superpowers. And whenever this news came out, the S&P 500 actually started tanking down in the middle of the day. You can see we had a big midday sell-off, and I think it was partly attributed to that Russia news. Now, towards the end, we kind of shrugged it off and ended up going right back up. But that is very scary to see us getting into some quarrels with Russia here. And obviously, we've been doing this with Ukraine over the past couple years or so, having some quarrels with Russia. But I don't know. This seems like a pretty big escalation, and it definitely scared me in the middle of the day. Thank God this was just a drone and nobody was aboard this thing.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens, but it's kind of one of those black swan events that is definitely worth covering. But Tom, talking a little bit more about the market specifically, I was looking at one stock today, Meta, and that thing was just leading the way. It truly blasted to the upside today. It closed up around 7% or so. What's going on with this one, and what's driving the buying frenzy?
Yeah, this was awesome. They got a big breakout early this morning as they're actually looking to lay off 10,000 employees. Now, some people might think, oh man, they're laying off employees. That's terrible. But for the stock's sake, it's actually a good thing. You know, it's going to be helping their books to get the employees off of there. It's going to help them save some money over the next few quarters. And looking at Meta right now, they definitely enjoyed that news coming in. But the big thing was 10,000 layoffs are coming, Mike. It looks like it should be pretty good for the company. And it doesn't look like Zuckerberg wants to lay off many other people past this either. He did say that on cutting projects that aren't performing or may no longer be crucial, removing layers of middle management to make decisions faster is obviously a big deal there. So it sounds like a very good thing for the company, Mike. I know that over the past few months, we've been seeing multiple other companies report layoffs, and then their stocks shoot up quite a bit. So it's very nice to see Meta doing this. And Meta just had a big breakout today above 188 to 190. I'll be honest, I could see him pushing 200 here sometime pretty soon.
Uh-oh. Just a couple months ago, this stock was around like $90 a share, and now we're talking about getting back to that $200 level. So it's had a hell of a run up over the past couple months, which is awesome to see. So Meta's a stock I still like for the long term, and it's just like one of those stocks I'll just continuously dollar cost average into as time goes by. But I've been buying this stock for months now, and I don't plan on selling anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't either. I love it for a long-term buy. I was actually talking about that today in the Discord with a couple other people. And for the long term, I'm going to really watch for that big gap here between like 250 and 300. If we could eventually fill that, that would be one hell of a move out of Meta. So I'll be keeping it on the radar, Mike. They had some great momentum today. Seems like it's on the uptrend. And if we retest and break 200 here, we could end up having quite the explosion. So keep it on the radar. Along with many other tech stocks today, it was just quite the day, whether you're looking at NVIDIA or Meta or even Roblox. Like, so many stocks were uptrending here.
You know it. Well, Tom, let's get right into some setups for tomorrow and the rest of the week. I really have my eyes on GLD. Gold has actually been doing pretty well over like the past couple trading days, as there's been a lot of fear and just craziness going on in the market. During these crazy and just uncertain times, a lot of investors like to flock into, a commodity that's been, used as a store of value since the beginning of time, and that's gold, right? So looking at GLD right now, it's had a lot of positive price action over the past couple days, and I can really see this lasting over the coming weeks and months, honestly. So I'm definitely looking at GLD in a bullish way going forward.
Yeah, and gold can go on quite the uptrend. I've been loving it the past week while you've been gone, Mike. It's been one of the plays of the day, probably just about every single day while you've been gone. So I love it. Hopefully we can break above 178 to 180. I think that it's a very awesome commodity because, like you said, people love to park their money there, especially during fearful times like we're seeing with some of these banks. So if even more banks collapse, imagine gold might shoot up to 185, 190 by the end of the week if that actually happens. But that's a big hypothetical if some banks do keep collapsing, though, because that is a crazy situation in the banking sector. But my first play today is going to be Palantir. I really liked how intraday they bounced right around 780. They had a nice uptrend back up. If we can get back above $8 for tomorrow, I'll watch for some calls back to the upside. And if we just see an overall market continuation, I think Palantir might continue up with the market. So let's hope for another recovery. And I think a lot of these growth stocks today could do a lot better over the next few days.
All right, there we go. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is UVXY. It's one of those scary type plays in the sense of when everyone else is panicking and when stocks are crashing, UVXY just tends to shoot to the moon. As we can see intraday, like it has had some really strong intraday upwards price action. UVXY is basically like a volatility ETF. Basically, like I said, when everyone else is panicking and just volatility is increasing, this thing explodes to the upside. So for me, I am looking at this one to the upside over the next couple days, but you really have to judge it based on the market sentiment. Obviously, the market is constantly changing, and let's say in pre-market tomorrow, or let's say like right around market open tomorrow, if there's a ton of selling pressure and a bunch of panic, then UVXY can be amazing. However, let's say amazing news comes out and the market's blasting to the upside, then you probably don't want to be buying UVXY. So UVXY is like a good setup, but you just have to be a little bit careful and make sure that there's actually panic going on.
Yeah, exactly. If you catch this thing at the right time, though, it can be amazing. Like today, from the low of day to the high of day, it was up around 15%. And that's just from the middle of the day towards close. So you can definitely catch big moves out of UVXY. I love that, Mike, and it follows the VIX. I know looking at the VIX, I've been looking at this key trend line here over the past few months, and man, it's been insane. Even this week, we had a big bounce off the lower portion of this towards the high we're kind of rejecting. So pretty crazy past couple of days out of the VIX, that's for sure. My last play of the day is going to be Microsoft, Mike. Looking at the market here, Microsoft had quite the uptrend, started breaking up above 260 and even up above 261 around market close. So I'm going to keep watching for Microsoft to go on a nice continuation back to the upside. If we break above 261 tomorrow, I will be definitely looking for some calls here. It's just insane. The overall market's recovering. Microsoft's running back up, and pretty much every tech stock on our heat map is in the green. It was actually an insane green day coming off of the insane selling pressure we saw the past couple of days.
Without a doubt. And we all know that what really sometimes can set the tone with volatility is good old earnings. So, Tom, I know we're mostly out of earnings season, but what's on the lineup for the rest of this week?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty big here. To end the week, we have Adobe tomorrow after close, so watch for that one after close tomorrow. Besides that, there's really not too much tomorrow, but Thursday, we have Dollar General and Blue Apron before open. And then in after hours Thursday, we have FedEx and then Meta Materials. Don't get that confused with Meta or Facebook. This is Meta Materials for everybody who got confused about that earlier in the week. And then Playboy reports, Mike, Thursday after close. Wink, wink. I'll be watching that one. But FedEx and Meta on Thursday should be pretty big. Like I said, it's not the Facebook Meta, but Meta Materials.
Gotcha. Alrighty, Tom. Well, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have Zoom to the upside.
ZM, what a move today out of these growth stocks. If Zoom can break out above $70 even, I will watch for a nice continuation tomorrow.
With the last one, or not with the last one, with the second one, we have Apple to the downside.
It's been a long past couple weeks, hasn't it, Mike? Let's go ahead and break out above 153.50.
All right. With the last one, we have Amazon, and we need both directions.
Amazon, yeah, big jump up end of day. Go ahead and make them break above 95.10 tomorrow morning. But if they end up falling under 94 even, then watch for some potential puts.
All right, you guys heard Tom. So we have that upside level on Amazon. If it breaks it, we like it for a day trade up. We also have that downside level for a day trade down. And then do not forget about Apple with that downside level and Zoom with that upside level. But it's now time for my favorite part of the video, and that's the big money trade of the day. We have $2.5 million that went into DAL, D-A-L, so the Delta Airlines 34 strike put options that expire on April 21st of 2023. So Delta Airlines, we all know them. Basically right now the stock is lingering right around $35.50. These 34 strike put options is basically a bet that the stock is going to continue down. The play has a little bit of time, a little bit over a month's worth of time, which is good to see. $2.5 million is nothing to ignore. Looking at the overall market sentiment and especially just like the price action on Delta Airlines, it's looking pretty weak. And honestly, Tom, I do like this setup. It's not necessarily one of those setups where I think it's going to be like, anything absolutely insane, but overall, I do like the setup, and I do think it has a really good risk-reward potential right now, especially just given the market's overall sentiment. There's a lot of, I guess you could say it's easy for shit to hit the fan pretty quickly in this current environment.
I think Delta's a pretty good play here, Mike. That looks like an awesome big money play. I mean, whoever put this money into here over 2.5 or $2.5 million, man, they're making one hell of a bet here that this thing's going to go down. So I'll be watching it very closely over the next few days, along with the other airlines. And what I like about this play is it's on Delta, which I love Delta to the downside. It has a lot of momentum, but if Delta falls, I'm sure other airlines will fall down too, kind of like LUV or Southwest, and plenty others I'm sure will get a big move as well.
You know it. So, Tom, we definitely have an exciting rest of the week ahead of us. Lots of volatilities on the way. The market held up good today, but honestly, I'm not really trusting it too much going forward. We're at like a tough spot right now where it's like the news we have, like I said just a couple minutes ago, has potential to get a lot worse. At the same time, like the good news that we have isn't like too amazing. Like inflation data came in right at expectations, but it's like it's still at 6% at the end of the day. Not good. So we'll see what happens. Either way, we're set for a very exciting end to the week. Tom, do you have any last minute thoughts or anything you're looking at?
Yeah, it's crazy. The SPY's been channeling a lot the past few weeks, creating a lot of channels and staying in them. And it seems like there's just another one going on right now. Like there's an upper level of this channel around like 393.50 that we've been bouncing off of. The lower end of the channel is down here around 385, like the low of pre-market today and the low of yesterday. Well, not the low of yesterday, but the low of yesterday towards the end. And just it was a big support level all week long. So I'm going to be watching that channel between 385 to 393.50. Seems like that's a crucial area here. And if we can break above that tomorrow, I think we're going to get a lot more breakouts out of many other stocks. Like it was crazy to see these stocks like AMD and NVIDIA end up as high as they did after all this bad news came out. So it's just been a crazy past few weeks while you've been gone, Mike. I will say I'm glad you're back. I hope you bring some stability back into the stock market. I'm praying for it.
We'll see, Tom. We'll see what happens. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Manny, in the Stocked Up Discord. You've been in the chat for around a year and a half now, and the activity that you've been having in the chat has definitely been increasing over the past couple of weeks. So that's awesome. We're so happy to have you in the chat. So huge shout out to you. Besides that, guys, let's have an amazing rest of the week.